The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has approved the availability of several spot Ethereum ETFs for trading on American markets. Joining us now to discuss is Andres Rincon, Head of ETF Sales and Strategy at TD Securities. Andres, always good to chat with you about these developments.
Thanks for having me. It seems like deja vu all over again. I was here not too long ago talking about Bitcoin. Now we're talking about Ether.
Yeah, we did. We could dial back a few months, but now that we're here, we are talking about Ethereum. These developments, walk us through what they mean.
Yeah, so regulators, so the SEC in the US, basically gave a heads up to the issuers in the US and said to file what we call an S1 filing, which is really a prelude to these issuers launching these ETFs. So this was last week, and now today they've launched several ETFs in the US that cover Ether. And really what they do is they give exposure to spot Ether in the US. Historically, what we had only in the US was exposure to futures-based Ether ETFs, and now we have spot Ether ETFs in the US.
All right, so that's a nice understanding of these products. Talk about the type of products that we're going to see out there. What are investors expecting?
Yeah, so we expect between 5 and 10 over the next few weeks. I know a lot of them were launched today, but we expect many more over the next few weeks. So what we're going to see is your traditional vanilla spot Ether ETF. So it's similar to Bitcoin, spot Bitcoin ETFs. What you have is an investor can now give some money to an ETF. They'll buy the ETF. That cash then goes and is purchased by the issuer. They go then on an exchange and they purchase spot Ether, and then they actually put it in cold storage. So they're put in cold storage for custody purposes in the same way that you would do if you open an account on an exchange and had your own cold storage, let's say. So you're going to see an array of products from your traditional issuers in the US, like the BlackRocks and the Fidelities. They're the ones that have grown quite a bit in the US. And also, not too long from now, we'll also likely see the Grayscale Ether Fund convert into an ETF, which already has $9 billion in assets under management. So this industry, or this space, is going to grow quite quickly. We expect it to be around a quarter of the crypto ETF market, in the same way that it is in Canada, that we're seeing here, the ratio. So slowly we'll see some growth there. In terms of fees, we're going to see, call it on the low end, about 0.15% in terms of management fee, to the average likely to be at 0.22%. But many of them very likely will also cut their fees for a year and waive them for a year, in the same way that we saw that for Bitcoin ETFs in the US.
Great primer there on the products and what they're going to look like for investors. At the same time, we need to speak about risks. What are the risks around a product like this?
Very similar to Bitcoin ETFs. So what you see, really, number one is custodial risk. At the end of the day, I mentioned cold storage. That cold storage is professionally managed and it's regulated in the US, but at the end of the day, there's always the risk that it is manipulated, or it is not taken care of properly, and that those Ether coins can be lost, let's say. That's one of the big risks in this space. Obviously, very very well guarded, but it's an important risk to mention. And the other one is price risk, obviously.
Markets go up, markets go down.
Exactly.
Right? No different here.
In Ether, Ether tends to be volatile to some degree, so it's important to understand the risks and the volatility of Ether or Ethereum when you're investing in those products.
Right, so this is what's happening in the United States. What about the Canadian market? What does it look like when it comes to Ethereum ETFs?
So it's important to remember that Canada had the first Ether ETFs ever in the world, just for starters. We've had them since 2021. So we now have a fairly broad lineup of Ether ETFs. We have 12 Ether ETFs, and this is Ether ETFs. There's also Ether staking ETFs, which is slightly different. But we have 12 Ether ETFs here in Canada from 4 different issuers, $1.3 billion. And as I said earlier, it's about a quarter or so, just shy of that, of the crypto ETF landscape here in Canada. So it's a very vibrant market in Canada. It trades quite well, and we have a lot of investors looking for exposure to Ether ETFs here in Canada through Canadian ETFs already.